The first thing that I like about this book is the front cover. Now I know there's the expression, do not judge a book by its cover, but I think in this instance it gave me a good impression, and it gave me a little bit of, well, positive expectations, should we say. Now, before I get into this book, there's a short story in Halo Fractures. Now I can't remember the name of the story, the short story at the moment, but it sets up the story on Onyx. And I thought that particular short story was the best in the whole Fractures book. And so when I heard about this book, I was really excited to read it. And so, let me dive right in. This book is mostly good. Now what I mean by that is, I get the feeling that this book should have been maybe about 100 pages longer, because it sets up this community on Onyx. Possibly mild spoilers, but just so you're warned. It sets up this community on Onyx called Paxipolis, if I recall correctly, and it's this little city with humans, Sangili and Ungoi, working together, and it's an interesting concept. It's a fascinating concept. The problem is that we don't really get to experience too much of it. It's entirely from Molly's point of view. Well, maybe not necessarily entirely, but mostly by Molly's point of view. And that's disappointing, because the character of Molly, I understand what they were trying to do with her, and she's not a bad character. But the problem is, since we're only seeing things from her perspective, we're seeing such a very limited, narrow view of Paxipolis. And it would have been nice to have some segments when you get it from the point of view of Chief Mendez, for example. Just to see some of the inner workings, perhaps the politics of Paxipolis, trying to keep the humans and Sangheili and Ungoi from fighting each other, trying to keep tempers down, trying to keep the peace. That would have been an interesting read. Unfortunately, they don't really go into that, and it's a shame. Now, I'm not gonna give away too many spoilers, but at the end, let's put it this way: at the end of this book, it sets up a sequel, and I hope we do get a sequel to this story, because this book is set during the events of Halo 5. And they don't really touch too much about the story with Cortana and the Created. You do get a Guardian in this book, as you can obviously tell from the front cover. But those events happen typically at the very end of the book. And mostly it's about the Servants of the Abiding Truth. And now anyone who doesn't know the Servants of the Abiding Truth, go and read Karen Travis's Kilo 5 trilogy, because that is a great trilogy. It's one of my favourite trilogies of the whole Halo universe. And it was interesting just to see them again, because as we know from Halo 4, Spartan Ops, Jewel and Dharma's Covenant, they weren't the servants. And what was interesting is that during the Kilo 5 trilogy, there was this big battle between the servants and the Arbiter. And when Halo 4 came about, the servants just weren't mentioned. So I was always curious to know what actually happened with them. Here we get somewhat of an explanation. They are under the command of Durol and Mdama. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that very well. It's Durol and Mdama. Let's just call him Durol. And he is essentially Jewel's son. And I must say, whilst he's kind of an interesting character, they don't really do too much with him, which again is unfortunate. There is a bit of a plot twist with regards to the Mdama family in this book, but I'm not going to go into that one, because I think you should really read it to experience it properly. But is this book a good read? Yes, it is. I did enjoy this book immensely. I liked the short story which led up towards this book, and the book was definitely an enjoyable read. I think that this book just needed, like I said, just needed to be about 100 pages longer, because it feels like we didn't get too much of Paxipolis, and we didn't get to experience the world of Onyx a bit more. And I suppose my real criticism about the book is that it's perhaps too short, and maybe in some instances a little rushed, but that's just my opinion. But I would highly recommend this book. It's one of the good Halo novels, and there are a couple of bad novels, believe me, but this is definitely one of the good ones. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.